Welcome to the Sleep Dives channel. We're diving into Steve Pereira's flow engineering, and we're going to tackle a paradox that drives everyone nuts. Why does adding more people make things slower? We're going to look at the hidden costs of scaling and then unpack a really simple, powerful framework to get things flowing again.
All right, let's just jump right in, shall we? This is one of the biggest headaches in modern work. You hire more brilliant people, right? The idea is to speed things up, but somehow everything just bogs down, gets more complicated. So why does that happen? It's not just in your head, It's a fundamental, very real challenge of scale. So the first thing we've got to wrap our heads around is that scaling, it isn't just a technical problem. Nope, it has these very real, very human costs. Growth is supposed to make you more capable, but what often happens? It ends up undermining the entire reason we even form teams in the first place, which is, to actually get stuff done.
Now, I want you to ask yourself, does any of this sound familiar? That feeling of I have no idea what's going on anymore, or always waiting on someone, something completely out of your control. And oh, the endless meetings and interruptions. Look, these aren't just people complaining. They're symptoms. Symptoms of a system that's choking on the invisible friction that scale creates. Okay, so Pereira breaks this down into 3 specific human costs. The first one? Distraction. And think about it like this. When it's just you only have your distractions to worry about. But add just one more person and the potential for interruptions more than doubles. Now scale that up to a whole team, a whole company, and what you get is this constant cascade of pings, questions, and priority shifts that just shatters focus for everyone. And here's the real kicker, 25 minutes. That's how long it takes, on average, to get your head back into a complex task after just one little interruption. Just one. Now think about it. Multiply that by all the interruptions your team gets in a single day. The amount of lost productivity is just staggering, isn't it? All right. The second human cost he points out is disorientation. As a company gets bigger, people naturally drift apart. They get further from the customer, further from each other, and honestly, further from the whole point of their work. Suddenly, everyone's got their own little map of the world, their own goals, their own info, and if you're not super deliberate about it, you get teams pulling in different directions, even when they all have the best intentions. And all of that, it leads to the third and maybe the most damaging cost of all, disengagement. I mean, when you can't see how what you're doing actually matters, what happens? You just start treading water. You check out. And look, this is not a small thing. Gallup crunched the numbers, and it costs the global economy, get this, $8.8 trillion in lost productivity. That's just mind-blowing. So you might be thinking, if scaling creates all these problems, why even bother? Well, that brings us to this really interesting paradox. Because even with all that inefficiency, all that friction, working together in bigger groups still gets better results than if we all just worked alone. But, and it's a big but, it comes at a hidden cost. It's this really fascinating push and pull. On one side, you've got something called the Wrangleman effect. Basically, the bigger the group, the less effort each individual tends to put in. It's kind of like social loafing. But on the other side, you've got research from places like Microsoft and Facebook showing that the benefits of everyone working together still win out. So what's the takeaway? Yeah, collaborating is better, but man, it's nowhere near as good as it could be. The real heart of the issue, especially for so many of us in knowledge work, is that the work itself is invisible. I love how Frederick Brooks put it. He said, we're building castles in the air. It's so true, right? You can't see code being written or a marketing strategy coming together the way you can see a house being built, brick by brick. And because it's invisible, trying to coordinate it all is incredibly, incredibly difficult. And if you want a jaw-dropping, real-world example of this, here it is. A company needed to add a single checkbox to a billing system. A checkbox. Sounds dead simple, doesn't it? Well, that one little checkbox ended up costing, wait for it, over $28 million. And it took a year. Why? Because they had to untangle this invisible web of dependencies that stretched across more than 60 different teams. Okay, so if the problem is this massive, complex, invisible mess, how on earth do you even start to fix it? Well, Pereira says we need a whole new way of thinking, a new mental model. We have to stop seeing our work as just a bunch of separate tasks that get handed off between silos. Instead, we need to see it for what it is, a single, end-to-end flow.
And the foundation for this new mindset is a concept called cybernetics. Now, don't let the fancy word scare you. The core idea is actually incredibly simple, and you see it everywhere. Just think about riding a bike. To stay balanced and move forward, you're constantly making these tiny, almost unconscious adjustments, right? That's a feedback loop. It's a control system that keeps you on target. And believe it or not, the very same principle can be used to run a company.
This whole idea boils down to a really simple but powerful three-step loop. First, you set a target. You decide where you're going. Second, you sense. You take a hard look at where you are right now. And third, you respond. You take action to close that gap between where you are and where you want to be. Target, sense, respond. That's it. That's the basic engine for getting anything done effectively.
And thinking this way really highlights the difference between two models of work. The old way, it's like a relay race between departments. Marketing perfects their leg of the race, hands it off to sales, who hands it off to engineering, but everyone keeps fumbling the baton at the handoffs. That's where all the time is lost. The better model is to see it as a value stream. You look at the entire journey, from the moment a customer has a need to the moment they're happy, and you optimize that whole journey, especially those tricky handoffs. Okay, so that's the theory. How do we actually do this? Well, Pereira distills all of this down into a beautifully simple framework. It's built on just three core elements: value, clarity, and flow.
Let's start with value. This is your target from that cybernetic loop we just talked about. This is your why. It's not about shipping features or completing tasks on a list. It's about the deep fundamental problem you are solving for a real human being, for a customer. When you have a crystal clear sense of value, it gives direction to everything else you do.
Next up, clarity. This is the sensing part of the loop. This is all about creating a shared, honest picture of where you are right now. What's really holding you back? What are the real opportunities hiding in plain sight? Because without that shared clarity, it's like everyone on the team is trying to navigate with a completely different map. It's chaos. And that brings us to the third element, flow. This is your response. See, when you have a clear direction, that's value, and a shared map of the terrain, that's clarity, then and only then does effective action become almost effortless. Flow is that amazing feeling of smooth, uninterrupted progress. It's when work just moves steadily and frictionlessly towards the customer.
Now here's the magic. These three things aren't separate. They feed each other in this awesome, virtuous cycle. Your sense of value tells you what you need to get clarity on. That clarity then lights up the path forward, which unlocks flow. And then when you deliver something valuable through that state of flow, what happens? It actually deepens your understanding of value, and the whole cycle starts over again, even stronger this time.
So this framework isn't just theory, it's a practical toolkit. It gives you a much better set of questions to ask every single day. Instead of just asking, how could we go faster? We can start asking things like, what's the real value we're trying to deliver here? Or how can we get everyone on the same page with shared clarity? And maybe the most important one, what is blocking our flow? And you'll find that the answer isn't usually people need to work harder. It's almost always about fixing those clumsy handoffs between people.
When you boil it all down, the one fundamental problem flow engineering is designed to solve is distance. That's it. As we grow, distance creeps in. Distance from our customers, distance from our purpose, and distance from each other. So I'll leave you with this final thought. Think of your team's work as a system, because that's what it is. The question is it a system that just happened by accident, full of friction and confusion? Or are you going to be the one who deliberately engineers it for value, for clarity, and for flow?